Hello everyone, this is part 36 of What If Naruto Meets the Nine Tails Early, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Kurenai-sensei, please, make her stop, begged Sakura. For the past 4 hours, Anko had been making Sakura do guy-level physical exercises, okay maybe not that strenuous. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I'll admit, you've come a long way, but your stamina and chakra reserves could still use some improvement, responded Kurenai. Sakura stopped and sighed, which she probably shouldn't have done. The next thing Sakura felt was the tail of a snake into her and sent her back into a tree. Anko had summoned Shichi, a rather large blue snake, to give Sakura an incentive to run. That was fun, Pinky. I'm impressed you lasted that long, commented Anko with a big smile on her face. Sakura barely picked herself off the ground with the assistance of Ino, who had agreed to help Sakura with her training. Why don't you take an hour break for lunch and then we'll start on some genjutsu training, said Kurenai as Sakura welcomed the much-needed break and Ino sat her down aside a tree. Damn Sakura, you look worse than I did the other day, said Ino. Oh come on, there's no way anyone could look worse than you. Hey, what did you saw billboard brow? Sakura only laughed at this and Ino joined in. To Ino, she actually liked having her old friend back. Look Sakura, I've been thinking. I'm done going after Sasuke. This earned a confused look from Sakura. I overheard the way the two of you were talking in the cave that night and I honestly think that if it hadn't been for Ramen Boy, something may have happened between the two of you. You may have given up on being a fangirl, but that still doesn't mean you don't like Sasuke, it's just you were the one to find the path to his heart. And to be honest, I've seen the way he looks at you at times. It'd just be cruel of me to do something of like that to my best friend, especially after everything she's done to help me. Ino, was all Sakura could say. It's like you said, there are thousands of other guys in Konoha that I need to make worship me, Ino smiled, making Sakura laugh as well. Now that I think of it, I can't think of a good reason why I liked Sasuke back in the academy. Sure I know he's pretty hot, but now that I think of it, that's all. You've gotten a chance to know the real Sasuke and if you still have feelings for him after that, then that means it's something more than just a silly little crush. Ino. Are you sure? Asked Sakura. Absolutely, replied Ino. Besides, it's like you said. There are hundreds of guys in Konoha that need to worship the beauty that is Ino. Ino and Sakura both got a laugh out of that. Those guys had better watch out then, and I'd hate to imagine what would happen if they piss you off, said Sakura. Oh yeah, they won't know what hit them, said Ino. And besides, now I really will have time to work on my shinobi training. I know you'll make Chunin this time around, I have absolute faith in my best friend. But don't think you'll be ahead of me for that long, because come next exam, I'll be kicking her and taking names. Don't you mean numbers? Replied Sakura. It depends on how hot those boys I beat are. This sent another laugh through the two girls. Anyways, I'm already falling behind. I mean Hinata of all people is in a relationship. Remember back in the academy when we all thought she would be the last person to find love because she was so quiet and shy? Yeah I do. And I'll say the most surprising thing was when we found out Naruto of all people finally asked her out. It was obvious to everyone but him that she liked him, but we all thought that her shyness and his thick-headedness would prevent them from ever getting together, replied Sakura. Man, that Barker truly is full of surprises. But my life's changed so much because of him. To me, he's like that annoying little brother that you never wanted, but you find yourself not being able to live without. Sakura, are you ready? Called out Kurenai. Wow, that time already, said Sakura. Time flies when you're with me. Now go kick summer, said Ino. Hurry up Pinky, you can't be wasting time. We still need to get in our poison training for today, shouted Anko. Sakura and Ino paled at this. Help me, Sakura squeaked out. Sarasuma-sensei, what sort of cool wind jutsu are you going to be teaching us? Asked Naruto. Well, I mainly wanted to focus on your knives, but since I know you can make a lot of shadow clones, we could have them learn the jutsus while you and I work on your wind blades, replied Asuma. Really? Sweet, shouted Naruto. Hey, but what about Hinata? She doesn't have wind blades. Is she going to be learning wind jutsu then? Not really. Hinata, your father wanted me to help you convert your normal chakra blasts into wind chakra blasts, explained Asuma. But what will that do? Asked Hinata. Honestly, I don't know for sure. But the two of us theorized that it would be like sending a wind blade directly into the opponent's chakra system, possibly destroying it instead of just blocking it, said Asuma. What? Exclaimed both Hinata and Naruto at the same time as Naruto looked slightly dumbfounded over at Hinata. Does she really have the ability to do that? That would be so amazing and so powerful, thought Naruto. Hey, don't underestimate the power of wind. Wind can grind mountains into dust and even the strongest of trees from their roots. It's one of the reasons why I'm so powerful, bragged Kurama. Wait, I thought your element was fire, asked Naruto. That's half right. I have two elements, fire and wind. For some reason, most people associate my element to fire, but my wind element is just as strong, if not stronger, explained the Kyuubi. Wait, so is that why I have a wind element? Asked Naruto. Somewhat, but your wind element is incredibly strong. Even without me, you would most likely be a wind user, I just serve to amplify that. And also, because of me, you do have a strong fire element. It's nowhere near as strong as your wind element, but it's still strong enough that I'd say you could master fire after wind without much effort. Wow, really? Hey, so you know if I have any elements? Asked Naruto. Just focus on those for now. I can't detect any other elements at this time, but it doesn't mean they won't develop as time passes. I hope they do. It'd be so awesome if I had a lightning element, then I could learn Kakashi Sensei's Chidori, said Naruto. Still stuck on that jutsu, huh? Now get back to training, your vixen's wondering why you suddenly zoned out for a moment, said Kurama. That was one thing they would need to work on, was Naruto taking to him for extended conversations without zoning out a lot. Lightning's going to be tough for him because his wind element is so strong. Fire shouldn't be too hard for him because of me, and he can even use his own wind chakra to maybe amplify the fire chakra. I don't know about water, but that might work out for him. If I'm correct, Mito mentioned something about the Uzumakis being strong water users as well. Earth. This one I really don't know. Again, I think this one's going to be a problem for him, seeing that wind and earth are opposites in a way. If he could somehow manage to master all five, then I've got some interesting ideas. For now, I'll keep them to myself. Uncle, do you think I have a chance to beat him? Asked Neji. Are you more skilled than him? By far. I know what troubles you, and believe me, I feel the same, replied Hiashi. I think, if I can end the fight quick enough, before he has time to use it, I can win, said Neji. I see. So you want to focus mainly on your speed, said Hiashi. Yes, and I believe Hinata-sama requires the same training as well. Her opponent goes by the name Yumo. From what I observed, he possesses incredible precision in close combat that I've only seen rivaled by our clan or the ice user Haku. Granted, he doesn't attack the chakra system, but rather uses fast and precise blows on the weak spots of the human body to create openings. In his preliminary match, after an initial shot to the solar plexus, it was practically over, explained Neji. Speaking of Hinata, said Hiashi as Hinata joined them after finishing her morning session with Asuma. Hello father, Neji-Nisan, addressed Hinata, bowing to the two of them. However, Hinata's attention was diverted by a smaller girl that had been sitting along the side of the training area where they were. Hanabi. Hanabi slowly walked over towards Hinata, and Hinata was wondering what exactly was going to happen. In all honesty, she hadn't seen her little sister much since their last match, and at that time, Hanabi seemed bitter towards Hinata. Hinata's worries were washed away when Hanabi hugged her and began crying. Nisan, I'm sorry. I've been a horrible. I shouldn't have gotten mad, but cried Hanabi. Hinata bent down and hugged her sister back. Somehow, Hiashi had managed to dehuge Hanabi. Uncle, if I may ask, why is Hanabi here? Of all places, why did you bring her with you to Kumo? Asked Neji. It was either bring her here where I could at least keep an eye on her, or leave her back in Konoha for a month with the elders. I saw this as the lesser of two evils, argued Hiashi. I will admit, as much of a nuisance as she can be, Anko's methods certainly were effective. It's okay, Hanabi-chan. I forgive you, said Hinata. Hanabi looked up at her big sister and smiled. Now go kick everyone's Hanabi, shouted both Hinata and Hiyashi at the 7-year-old's language. Sorry, Hanabi said, cringing a little. Hiyashi resumed the topic of training and handed both Neji and Hinata a set of seals that were made up from jiraiya. These are a combination of weights and restriction seals. They will restrict your movements for training purposes. By training with these, you should see a drastic increase in your speeds. You will work with these on for the next 3 weeks and then take them off for the final week so that you can get used to fighting with quicker reflexes. Hi. Both Neji and Hinata said to their teacher for the month. After the day's practice, before Neji and Hinata returned to their inn to relax, Hiyashi pulled Neji aside for a brief moment. I know for a fact that Shinji does not know how to activate the seal, but I would not put it past Kenjo to teach it to him. What you do is completely up to you, but just be aware that you are going up against someone who may not restrain himself from using the seal. Lee, let us train our youthfulness together. Starting with 100 laps around the village, exclaimed Guy. Hi, Guy-sensei, shouted Lee. And if I cannot do that, then I will do 1,000 push-ups. And if you cannot do 1,000 push-ups, then I will do 3,000 sit-ups. Replied Guy. Will you two just stop it already? Shouted Tenten. Lee, she's right. We are wasting youthful time right now. Said Guy. You are right, Guy-sensei. We must be training. Let us go into youth. With that, Lee and Guy took off into the sunset on their 100-lap marathon around Kumo. Father, I am concerned about my match, said Shinji. I will admit that Neji is one of the most skilled in our clan, but there is one move that can defeat him without fail, explained Kenjo, Shinji's father. This will take care of your match against Neji while we can spend time training you for the second match. I see. Very well then. After all, no branch member should surpass the main family. Neji must be reminded of his place, replied Shinji as his father showed him the one move he would need to defeat Neji, the activation of the caged bird seal. You're late, said Sasuke to Kakashi. The two had staked out a private training ground on the top of a nearby mountain. Sorry, but I found this eagle nest and, never mind, said Kakashi. So what do you have for me this time? Asked Sasuke. Well, let's take a look at your opponent first. In all honesty, I think he was holding back a lot, said Kakashi. You think? Said Sasuke sarcastically. Anyways, did you notice that he bore a strong resemblance to the proctor? Asked Kakashi. Now that Sasuke thought about it, Yakuro did look like a slightly younger version of the proctor, Darui. He had the same bulbous nose and similarly shaggy white hair. So you think they're related? I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm sure I saw him referring to Darui as brother. Which means there's a very good chance your opponent had a bloodline that he didn't reveal, explained Kakashi. What? How do you know he has a bloodline? Asked Sasuke. It's something you'll pick up with experience. Darui is known for possessing the black lightning, but that was given to him via a seal from the Raikage, so you shouldn't have to worry about that. What you do have to watch out for is the storm release bloodline though, I suspect, explained Kakashi. For Sasuke, this was beginning to sound more and more worth it for him. Perhaps Yakuro was just unfortunate to get paired up with a weak team. So do you know anything about this storm release? A little bit. I fought against it once and forced my opponent to retreat, but it is quite powerful, said Kakashi. Good, was all Sasuke said before the two got to work. Time skipped to the start of the first round. It was a busy day Kumogakure no Sato. Today was the day of the first round of fights for the Chunin exams and the stands at the arena were packed. Excitement was in the air as 18 promising compeers had proven themselves worthy of fighting for the masses. While 18 might seem like a surprisingly large pool of Chunin hopefuls, it was not odd for Kumo to have this many compeers in the final round. However, the surprising part was that the majority of the field was not made up of Kumo shinobi, but rather Konoha shinobi. Konoha had managed to secure 8 spots in the finals, Kumo had 6 spots, Suna had 2, Kiri had 1, and Taki had 1. As the crowds assembled into the stands, the 18 compeers were led out onto the field. Up in the cage box, the 4 village leaders who were able to attend the matches greeted each other before taking their seats. Shibuki, the new leader of Takagakure no Sato, Ratuka, the head elder of Sunagakure no Sato and acting Kazekage, Senju Tsunade, the Hokage of Konohagakure no Sato, and the Reikage of Kumogakure no Sato. A scream was heard up from the cage box and everyone's attention turned to see Shibuki cowering after a messenger hawk landed on the Reikage's arm. All 18 compeers and the cage's sweat dropped at this. "Hey Fu, is that scaredy cat really your village leader?" asked Naruto, receiving an embarrassed nod from Fu. As the stands filled, most of the crowd was obviously from Kumo, however there was a decent amount of Konoha citizens, due to the high number of Konoha participants. Out of these Konoha guests, the most important of them were Senju Tsunade, Jiraiya, Hyuga Hiashi, Akamai Chusa, Nara Shikaku, Yamanaka Inoiki, Inuzuka Sume, Aburame Shibi, Kurama Unkai, and Sarutobi Asuma. These shinobi were the heads of the major clans in Konoha who composed the Konoha Shinobi Council with the Hokage, who also happened to be one of the clan heads, at the head of the council. All the other villages present had similar and to the compeers, these were the most important people to impress as they were the ones deciding who gets promoted from their village. In a separate, more luxurious box, the lords from all around had gathered as well to watch the shinobi of their nations compete. However, the main reason they were there had nothing to do with the promoting of shinobi. They were simply there as these Chunin exams were seen as almost a time for them to kick back and party a little. But if there was one activity that really caught these old politicians' attention, it was the opportunity to gamble with one another on the outcome of the matches. The rest of the stands consisted of various people, mainly citizens of Kumogakure, but there were a certain number of foreigners who were allowed into the village to observe the exam. The members of the Konoha 12 along with their senseis all managed to get seats to cheer on their comrades, and there was one particular Chunin who was probably the most excited person to be here. "Naruto's grown so much over the past year. I actually can't believe that he used to be that annoying little kid who would always disrupt my lectures." Yes, Iruka had somehow managed to pull a few strings and got himself a pass to come observe Naruto competing in the finals. But what's most surprising is that he's ditched the orange jumpsuit. Sure, I'll miss him wearing that, but he actually kind of looks like a shinobi now. The stands were abuzz with excitement as everyone was discussing the matches to come. Suddenly, everyone just stopped everything as a huge cloud of smoke appeared in the middle of the arena. As soon as the smoke cleared, the Hachibi was standing where the smoke was, shocking almost everyone present. A beat began to play as the Hachibi transformed into KB. "Know my name, know my fame, don't be lame. 8 tails, that's me da rappin' KB. A tailed beast resides inside my hide. Mackin' beats and rhymes and I'm mackin', live. It's what a Jinchuriki needs to survive. Battle after battle up in the beehive. Rapped B as most of the Kumo citizens in the stands began to dance along. First a cute little cat, yeah, how about that? Yugito ni is da girl to be, just like da one and only KB. Our next compeer's hair is rather fair, it might be green but it really gleams. B. Just get on with the match. Shouted the Reikage from the cage box. This is the last time I let him proctor an exam. B cringed at his brother's outburst and as such, got on with the match. Fu and Yugito remained down in the arena while all the remaining compeers continued up into the stands. "Yo, let's get on with this show," exclaimed B. "Does that mean start?" asked Fu as Yugito nodded in translation. The two Kunoiki took their battle positions and Yugito was the first one to make a move. Kaiten, Hellcat's Fury. Yugito exhaled a burst of fire that formed into about 6 flaming tigers and charged at Fu. Fu ducked underneath the first one and drove a knife into the second and third ones. A water jutsu would be good right about now. Oh wait, my bastard of a sensei never taught me anything while he was focusing on Takaru and Rigito. Fu was cursing her luck she was avoiding swipe after swipe from the 4 remaining cats. Over the past month, her team had returned to Taki, leaving her in Kumo to prepare for the upcoming exam, alone and without help. They returned just a few days ago for the match, but she knew that they really didn't want to be there and the only reason they were was to escort Shibuki, and even he was only here because someone wearing a Takagakure headband had made it to the finals. As Fu fought off yet another flaming cat, Yugito appeared directly in front of her with her claws extended. Yugito swiped at Fu, who barely managed to dodge the worst of the attack. Still, her arms and legs were already burnt from fighting with the cats and now she had a rather nasty scratch across her stomach. I need to get away from these things, she thought. That's it. Fu jumped upward, hoping to get away from her attackers. The flaming cats and Yugito waited patiently for her to land, but that never happened. Whoa! Exclaimed a lot of people from the stands. And there was something to whoa about. As Yugito looked up at her target, it was apparent Fu wasn't coming down, as she now had what appeared to be two sets of wings coming out of the middle of her back. Hey, and I was beginning to think this match wouldn't get interesting, commented Yugito. That's awesome. She can fly, exclaimed Naruto. Yes, it is a very interesting ability, replied Shino. It's probably an ability she gets from Tsume, replied Kurama. Cool. Can you give me something that will make me fly? Asked Naruto. Kurama merely sweat dropped at this. What do I look like? A 9-winged fox. I can't fly, you idiot. Now, thought Fu as she saw a small opening. Ninpo, blinding scales. Fu exhaled a dust of tiny luminous scales at Yugito, blinding the fellow Jinchuriki and giving Fu her opportunity. With an impressive aerial speed, she zipped into range of Yugito to deliver a quick punch to the blonde Kunoiki. Yugito slid back a few feet and Fu continued on with her attack. Yugito ducked underneath Fu's next attack and kicked upwards into Fu's stomach, sending her into the air. Fu was able to stabilize herself, just in time to see what was happening next. Kaiten, mouse hairball. Yugito unleashed her most powerful jutsu at Fu. The jutsu quickly split into multiple smaller fireballs and quickly locked onto Fu. With a surprising amount of speed, Fu began to outrun the oncoming attack. Unfortunately, she did not find that the attack was coming off and it still appeared to follow her. Damn, I need to do something to shake these fireballs, Fu thought as she noticed Yuxio standing in the arena below. Okay, that should work. Fu altered her course for her opponent and was suddenly flying low to the ground towards Yugito, who was not waiting for Fu to get closer before swiping out with her claws. As Fu got closer, Yugito lashed out with her cat-like nails and caught Fu across the shoulder and arms. She knew there was a danger to attacking directly and she was hoping to dodge the attack, but she was still not fully able to control herself while flying. However, the risk paid off when she saw the many fireballs collide with Yugito. Fu got up, having crashed onto the ground after being attacked, got to her feet and watched as the smoke cleared. To her dismay, Yugito was still standing, surrounded by a faint blue flame that surrounded her body. I have to say you're more fun than I had hoped. If I were anyone else, that little strategy would have worked, said Yugito. Using the speed that she gained by tapping into her demonic chakra, Yugito quickly closed the distance between the two of them and pinned Fu to the ground with her claws at the green-haired girl's tee. I suggest you forfeit. Those are some pretty wings you've got and I'd hate to have to clip them. Fine, I'm done, said Fu, forfeiting the match. The tactics Yugito used at the beginning of the fight to trap her opponent were impressive, and I feel that if Fu didn't have that ability to fly, she would have been done. Still, that was an interesting ability of her, don't you say, Shibuki? Analyzed Tsunade from the cage box. PHFT. Whatever, he scoffed off. This caught the rest of the cage's attention. She may have lost, but that didn't mean that Shibuki had to be so harsh about it. Fu did put up a good performance and managed to impress quite a few people. As the medics came out to help Fu patch up her wounds, Yugito came over to chat with her compeers. Do you mind me asking if you had any more tricks? I mean, you only used that dust to blind and your flying abilities. That couldn't have been everything you had, could it? I wish I could say so, but my sensei and anyone in the village has pretty much refused to teach me due to my condition, replied Fu. This surprised Yugito. In Kumo, while Jinchuriki weren't the most coveted people, they were still treated decently as both Kumo Jinchuriki had control over their biju. From the sounds of it and other things that she noticed, Fu was not as well off as she was. Still, you were actually pretty good. Let me know if you ever want to play again, said Yugito, offering Fu a hand. Up in the stands, people were applauding the match. Even though he didn't show it, Shino was slightly disappointed that Fu lost, although he was impressed by a few of her abilities. Let's go, brat, it's your turn to S, commented Goyoku to Naruto as he left down the stairwell towards the arena. Naruto let out a deep breath. It was now or never. Naruto, said Hinata, grabbing his arm. Don't worry, Haim, I'll be fine. He almost K3 of my friends and I'm not going to let him get away with that, Tabayo. replied Naruto. Naruto, Gaara said to his friend. I need to tell you something about him. Flashback. Gaara was walking through Kumo, in search of a particular fellow Jinchuriki. There was something he needed to know about Goyoku. The man was even more and cold than Gaara had ever been, and he needed to know why. He came to the training ground that had been assigned to Goyoku and saw the fellow Jinchuriki sitting in the middle of a barren spot of earth, scorched by his very acid. Have you come to S as well? Asked Goyoku. I came merely because I need to know. I used to be just like you, one who only cared about K. As a child, my own father attempted to K me a total of 6 times, all because I was seen as an unstable threat to the village. Because of that, I came to the conclusion that my sole purpose on this planet was to K, and that the only reason people existed was for me to K them. I fell into the darkness and lost myself to it, seeking only to K those who I felt would prove my existence. But by some miracle, I found a small spark of light, one that was able to pull me out of the darkness. That light was Uzumaki Naruto, the very person you were fighting in the final round. He was just like me, and yet he was completely different. He had faced everything I had as a child, the attempted K, the fear, and emptiness that comes with being who we are. Yet, he chose a different path, one that I have now set myself upon. He chose to work hard and earn love, and as such that became his reason to live, to protect those he cares about, said Gaara. And as such, he has earned the love and respect of many people who now call him friend. A touching story, said Goyoku sarcastically. But I don't need that load of S. You see, unlike the two of you, I was not born as a Jinchuriki. Even still, I was born a monster, and I liked it. I remember my first K. I was only 4 at the time, and I can still remember my father's screams, the bee pouring from the hole in his bee. He was begging me to stop, and yet I kept going. Why? Because it felt so good. It was then that I learned that I was truly meant to K. Gaara was actually shocked at this. Goyoku continued. I knew what love felt like. My mother loved me with all her heart. I K her, moments after I K my father. The pleasure I felt from K them was overwhelming, I had to have more. And then the day came that the Mizukage offered me a proposal that I couldn't refuse. He offered to turn me into the ultimate K machine, should I offer to serve him. I was 6 when the Rokubi was sealed into me, and ever since then, I haven't been able to stop K. I was born a K. I was meant to K. And once I K that brat and his pathetic friends, I'll K you next. Gaara regained himself. It was like he just had a talk with the devil himself. This man, no, this monster had known the joys of love and friendship, and yet he merely tossed them aside to K. I see, then if that's the way you truly feel, then you will not succeed in K Naruto. And you think you're going to stop me? Asked Goyoku. No. As much as I want to spare Naruto from burdening himself with you, I know for certain that someone who thinks the way you do will never win against him, replied Gaara. TSK. You've just ensured that Brat will a slow and excruciatingly painful death. I'm going to enjoy it with my entire being, said Goyoku with an evil look on his face. End flashback. I see, replied Naruto. He's not like me. He's gone too far in the darkness. In fact, he's actually chosen the darkness and shunned any form of love and caring for him. You will not be able to save him, as he won't even accept it. He truly is a demon, said Gaara. Don't worry. I knew that from the very first time I saw him. The QB actually gives me the abilities to sense stuff like this, and I know just how far he is. He tried to K my friends twice now, and he's threatening everyone else. I won't let him get away with that, you can count on it, said Naruto as he turned to walk down the stairs. Naruto, called out Neji. Naruto turned to see what it was that the Hyuga genius wanted. Kick his A. Naruto, surprised by Neji's choice of words, but nonetheless grinned back. Kakashi-sensei, do you think Naruto can really beat that monster? Asked Ino from up in the stands where most of the Konoha ninja had found their seats. No need to worry, Ino. Naruto's flames of youth burn too bright to be extinguished, said Guy, giving everyone the nice guy pose. But Guy-sensei, this guy's a monster. He nearly K my team and Tenten, replied Ino. But who was it who saved you? Replied Guy. Naruto's the only one who can fight this guy. The entire area around that guy is filled with acid that begins ravaging your lungs the moment you breathe it in. making it almost impossible to fight him head-on, explained Kakashi. But, and you guys have probably seen this, Naruto has an incredibly high regeneration due to the Kyuubi, enough to allow him to fight without worrying too much about the acid. Besides, I have a feeling he's going to surprise us. This is Naruto we are talking about anyways. Sir Asuma, mind sharing what Naruto learned? I'll say, those shadow clones of his and the massive chakra reserves he has is a blessing when it comes to learning jutsus. He had dozens of them working on some wind jutsu while I trained him with the chakra blades he's got. In 4 weeks' time, we were able to get 7 different jutsus hammered into his head. Not as good as a Sharingan, but still impressive, considering one of those is a high A rank, said Asuma. The funny thing is that he found the scroll for said jutsu in some sort of journal that he said he got in Uzushiogakure. So I take it Naruto truly is an Uzumaki. Yes, and you'd be surprised with the other part of it, said Kakashi, sending the rest of the Jonin a look. He wasn't going to say much more on it in the middle of a crowd and the genin just shot Kakashi a curious look. Back in the arena, Naruto had just walked out of the tunnel leading onto the arena. He had a serious look on his face and the new, darker look made him actually seem like a serious ninja. Of all the matches, this was probably the most anticipated one of them all. Ever since the prelims, word had gotten out about Naruto being a Jinchuriki and that his opponent was also a Jinchuriki. For those placing bets, the odds were in favor of Goyoku at 5-1, primarily due to the reputation he had gained throughout Kirigakure as a sadistic K who could K you by just being in your presence. So you really want to do this on your own, Kit? I just need enough chakra to counteract the corrosive effects of his acid. Other than that, this is something I want to do myself. Besides, it's not like I've been doing nothing these past 4 weeks. I need to know if I'm getting strong on my own, replied Naruto. Fine, just don't get us both K. Now go kick his Naruto approached the center of the arena and a deathly silence overtook the stadium. After just a few seconds of just starting at his opponent, Naruto felt the necessary demonic chakra enter his system that he would need to combat Goyoku's acid aura. Before the match even began, Goyoku took a page from Naruto's book and sent a massive wave of ki at the blonde, hoping to get a reaction. Naruto didn't even flinch. He was used to ki of this magnitude, having learned how to combat it months ago from the Kyuubi. However, just because it didn't affect Naruto, doesn't mean that it simply went unnoticed. Throughout the stands, the observers with weaker constitutions couldn't hold themselves together. Some shuddered at the ki flooding the stadium, some spilled their bowels, some passed out, and some did some sort of combination of the three. This man really wanted to K Naruto. I'd better begin this soon before the tension goes boom, thought B as he signaled for the fight to begin. Acid cannon, shouted Goyoku, forming balls of acid in his hand and shooting them out at Naruto. Futon, air bullets, shouted Naruto as he unleashed multiple spheres of compressed air towards the incoming acid balls. The two attacks collided in mid-air, dispersing the acid to a point where it didn't bother Naruto. Naruto rushed towards Goyoku and lashed out with a punch towards his opponent. Goyoku caught Naruto's fist and began to excrete acid from his own hand as it surrounded Naruto's fist. Even with the demonic chakra healing him, Naruto couldn't maintain prolonged contact with Goyoku as the acid on him was too concentrated. Naruto kicked Goyoku in the stomach, causing his opponent to release his grip on Naruto as Naruto retreated to allow his hand a few seconds to heal. It's been a while since someone's fought me up close like that. Usually, they just keel over and S when they get too close, commented Goyoku. Yeah, well there's a lot more where that came from. Shadow clone jutsu, shouted Naruto as about 15 clones popped into existence. The clones rushed at Goyoku, knives out. Acidic wave, shouted Goyoku as he moved his arm in AS motion and sent a spray of acid at the clones, causing all of them to dispel in a cloud of smoke. However, when the smoke cleared, Goyoku saw that it was only a mere diversion as Naruto and another clone had stayed back. Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu. Futon, great breakthrough. Naruto and the clone launched a combination assault on Goyoku as the Kiri Jinchuriki exhaled a thick cloud of acidic vapors to disintegrate the incoming shuriken before they would reach him. However, the shuriken were moving too fast and the blast of wind was helping to disperse some of the vapors and some of the shuriken managed to get through. Even though they were dulled by the corrosion, a few managed to find their target as some embedded themselves in Goyaku's arms and shoulders. For the first time in years, Goyaku was facing someone who had actually managed to injure him. "Oh yeah, I'm really going to enjoy KU," growled Goyaku as he held the shuriken out of his shoulder. "Is that all you ever think about?" "K," responded an angry Naruto. "What else is there to think about? I'm sure your little sand brat told you what I told him." "I want to K, it's what I was born to do, and the Rokubi only gave me another tool to do so," replied Goyaku. "But all I care about is that US." Goyaku rushed at Naruto with incredible speed, probably fueled by demonic chakra, and grabbed the blonde by the end with his left arm, him back into a nearby rock. Naruto could feel Goyaku's tight grip on his and the acid eating away at the skin and on his at a quicker rate than he could heal. "Naruto!" shouted Hinata, Sakura, Hanabi, Ino, Tenten, Lee, Kiba, and Aruka from the stands. Goyaku began gathering acid into his right hand and Naruto knew he had to get free before Goyaku had a chance to that acid into him. Instinctively, Naruto reached into his kunai holster on his leg and pulled out his tri-pronged knife and channeled wind chakra into it. "This is where US!" shouted Goyaku as he thrusted his hand holding the ball of acid towards Naruto's head. At the last second, Naruto with his wind blade through the arm that was holding him, severing it from Goyaku. Naruto dropped down, just in time for the acid ball to pass over his head and into the rock behind him. If Naruto would have looked back, he would have seen the acid melting away a good portion of the rock. "Futon, pressure palm!" shouted Naruto as he gathered and compressed air between his open palms and shoved them into Goyaku's gut. The blast of pressurized air exploded into Goyaku and sent him flying back away from Naruto. In the stands, a breath that was held by everyone was released at once. "Too close there, Naruto," commented Kurenai and the rest of the Konoha observers nodded. Naruto rubbed his as his slowly began to heal itself. That really was a close one. If he were anyone else, besides maybe Barkan, that acid would have eaten into the jugular vein in his and him right there, not to mention that there was no telling what that acid ball would have done to his head. One thing was sure, he had to end this match soon before he started giving people a heart attack. "Looks like it's time for that jutsu that Ero Sennin taught me," said Naruto. He made the shadow clone seal, but continued on to make the tiger seal as he struggled to bring 5 clones into existence. "What's wrong with Naruto? He should be able to make more than 5 clones and even those 5 seemed like a task for him," commented Sakura, turning her attention to Neji, who had his eyes active. "Those aren't normal clones, they have more chakra than normal. It's like he purposefully overloaded them with chakra," replied Neji. "Overloaded? But why?" asked Sakura. "I don't really know, but knowing Naruto I'm not expecting anything out of the ordinary," replied Neji. Goyaku managed to pick himself up from the ground as he looked over towards his handless arm. He was getting real pissed at the boy. No longer did he care what it took, he was going to K the brat. "Give me your power, so I can K this piece of he said to the demon inside him. Just as he said this, the 5 Naruto clones ran straight towards him. The 5 clones were upon him quick, but Goyaku did not expect what happened next. "Exploding clone jutsu," shouted Naruto as he formed a half tiger seal with one of his hands. All 5 clones exploded in a massive blast and Goyaku was caught in the center of it. In some Akatsuki hideout, art is an explosion, shouted Deodara as a massive explosion rang through the hideout. "What the hell was that for you moron?" replied Hiden's head, which had been separated from his body due to the blast. "I don't know. It feels like someone has just discovered the true joys of art, so I thought I would celebrate with an explosion," replied Deodara. "That's it. Get your over here so I can it to Jashin," replied an angry Hiden. "And how are you going to do that?" "You're just ahead," replied Deodara as he wiggled his tauntingly in front of Hiden's severed head. "Yoauk," shouted Deodara as Hiden bit down on Deodara's hard. "Who the hell taught the Gaki that jutsu?" shouted Tsunade from the cage box. "Jiraiya." "OS," replied now fearful Jiraiya from down by the Konoha spectators. "You know, I don't blame Tsunade-sama. Naruto could probably destroy an entire village with that jutsu once he masters it," replied Kakashi, looking over to a cowering Jiraiya. "Hey, that got you? "You slug bastard," replied Naruto from down in the arena. His eyes widened in horror when a red beam shot upwards from the middle of the dust cloud and a massive ki, larger than any felt before, flooded the stadium. A massive cry erupted from the cloud of dust, and standing where Goyoku once was, stood a five-tailed, red, slug-like creature. "This is bad. Really bad," yelled Jiraiya from the stands as all the other Jonin and Genin looked on in horror at what Naruto was now faced with. "This match is over, before we all fall over." "Bakayaro Konayaro," said B, trying to end the match as things were now getting out of hand. A few octopus arms appeared out his back as he tried to restrain Goyoku, but found that he couldn't hold on as the acid on the five-tailed cloak now had enough strength to quickly eat away at the Hachibi's F. Goyoku then did something that only made the situation worse. Small blue and red balls of chakra began forming above his mouth. He was determined to K Naruto, and he was going to tail Beastball Naruto, and the hundreds of spectators in the stands behind Naruto, including Naruto's friends. "Damn. I've got to end this now or a lot of people are going to I've got to use those two jutsu," said Naruto. "Shadow clone jutsu," shouted Naruto as 7 clones popped into existence. "Futon, Heaven's Hammer," shouted Naruto, after running through about 24 seals. Just as Goyoku was able to finish the tailed beast ball, an incredibly powerful column of air down on top of him, pinning Goyoku to the ground and shattering the chakra ball before he could swallow it and unleash its power. "What was that?" asked Kakashi, completely surprised at the jutsu Naruto had just pulled out of his A. "That was the A-rank jutsu I was talking about earlier," commented Asuma, surprised as well by the events happening below. The entire stands watched as the 7 Naruto clones moved into position surrounding Goyoku, equally spaced so that there would be 8 points surrounding Goyoku with the real Naruto as the 8th point. All 7 clones pulled out a tagged kunai and placed it at their feet as Naruto released the Heaven's Hammer and dropped to his knees panting. "Damn, that jutsu takes a crap ton of chakra," said Naruto. Despite the exhaustion, Naruto forced himself to his feet. He wasn't finished as Goyoku needed to be stopped before he K anyone. Flashback. "So what do you think, Ero Sennin?" asked Naruto, pointing to the ceiling scroll he had just shown Jiraiya. "It might just work. If you can make a seal strong enough, then I think you'll be able to pull this off," replied Jiraiya. "How strong exactly does it have to be?" asked Naruto. 4 elements is the bare minimum for any sort of demonic ani. However, given the fact that you're going up against the Rokubi, I'd say 5 minimum, if not 6. The more elements you can add to the seal, the stronger it will be and the less risk there is of it coming undone, replied Jiraiya. But this is still an incredibly difficult seal, and just getting the necessary 4 elements is going to be extremely difficult for you. I see. End flashback. 4 elements, huh? And that will barely hold. If you say that 6 would be required to restrain that damned slug, then I'll make sure it never sees the light of day again, declared Naruto as he began going through hand seals. "What's Naruto doing now?" asked Kurenai. "What? He's going for 8, exclaimed Jiraiya. 8? 8 what?" replied Kurenai. "You've got some knowledge in Fuinjutsu, just watch," replied Jiraiya, directing everyone's attention back towards the match. Back in the arena, Goyoku made his way to his feet after being crushed by that massive column of air. "You will now." As Goyoku finished his threat, the 8 tags surrounding him lit up. "You will never threaten my friends again," declared Naruto as he finished the hand seals and his hands on the ground in front of him. Fuinjutsu, Uzumaki style 8-element suppression seal. Bind. Sealing kanji erupted from the 8 points surrounding Goyoku and converged at the point underneath him where an Uzumaki spiral formed. In a chain-like fashion, the 8 kanji lines going from the 7 tagged kunai and Naruto towards the center of the seal rose up and wrapped themselves around Goyoku as they proceeded to chain the monster to the seal beneath it. Goyoku let out a scream as he struggled to get to his feet, but to no avail. The seal had a strong enough hold on him to stop him from doing anything as the crowds just watched on in complete surprise at everything that was going on below. "Now, don't you ever come back out again, you damn slug." "Seal!" exclaimed Naruto, making the serpent seal with his hands. The seal on the arena floor began to twist and work its way towards Goyoku as it worked to suppress the Rokubi's chakra to a point where Goyoku wouldn't have access to even a slight drop of it ever again. Goyoku screamed out in pain as the sealing completed with an Uzumaki 8-point suppression seal appearing over top his seal, which was now visible on the center of Goyoku's sea just above his heart. The B-red chakra cloak retreated from the Kiri Jinchuriki as all access to the Rokubi's chakra was completely sealed away. Goyoku now stood, severely weakened and barely able to stand. He was just on the verge of consciousness, but no matter what happened now, the brat was going to pay. If he's fine. So long as he took Naruto to hell with him. Naruto felt the remaining chakra he had left. That A-rank wind jutsu and the subsequent sealing had taken a lot out of him. He had just enough chakra for one last jutsu, just enough to send one more clear message to Goyoku. Naruto rose to his feet, holding out his palm and channeling chakra into, forming the sphere of condensed and spiraling chakra. He then proceeded to charge at Goyoku, whose eyes had grown wide at the jutsu in Naruto's hand. Naruto S the orb of chakra into Goyoku's stomach. Rasengan! Shouted Naruto as Goyoku was shot back against the opposite wall of the arena where he finally collapsed. For a good minute, the entire stadium remained in complete and utter silence, wondering if Goyoku would get back up, and hoping he wouldn't, before erupting in cheers. Uzumaki Naruto is the winner, yeah! Shouted B, as Naruto finally collapsed from exhaustion with a huge satisfied grin on his face. Jiraiya was the first one down as he checked on his still conscious student. Not bad, Gaki. Not bad at all, said Jiraiya. Hey, thanks Ero Sennin, replied Naruto. So you want to go rest now? Asked Jiraiya. Hell number. I've got 3 days before the next round and I've still got to watch everyone's match, replied Naruto. Hey, why am I not surprised, replied Jiraiya. How about I take you back up into the stands, at least there you can sit down. Sure, but can I go talk to everyone first? Asked Naruto as Jiraiya carried Naruto into the tunnel and towards the contestants' box. Not bad Kit, not bad at all. A genin knowing that level of jutsu is just completely unheard of. He can think quick on his feet when the situation becomes dire and he doesn't hesitate, something a chunin needs to be able to do at times. And he thought of way to defeat such a monster before I could K any one of us, who were in the stands right behind him. He could have given up, and honestly, most of us would have been running for our lives after facing a pissed-off Jinchuriki, but he held his ground, not wanting to endanger anyone else and pulled through, commented one of the Konoha chunin in the audience. The chunin turned to another chunin seated next to him. What do you think, Kotetsu? I know one thing for sure, this does indeed beat gate duty. Still he's got some qualities that a chunin needs. He might not be the smartest out there, but he can think up effective solutions to problems on the battlefield rather quick, replied Kotetsu to his buddy, Izumo. So it looks like he'll have another fight. I look forward to seeing what the kid can do there. But I will say this, boy were we wrong about him from the very beginning, replied Izumo. The cages were still in utter disbelief at what they had just witnessed, even Tsunade. The Raikage was the first to break out of his stupor and slip into thought. So the last name isn't just for show. That blonde brat really is an Uzumaki. Damn it, and with the power of the Kyuubi, he's going to turn into a huge threat one day. If anything was evident by today's match, it was that something's going to need to be done. Tsunade regained herself in time to catch the look on the Raikage's face. That can't be a good look. I can't even begin to imagine what the Raikage is thinking right now. Pretty sure about this though, it's only a matter of time now before Naruto's got the Raikage on his A. But still, I can't believe the Gaki actually pulled that off. Tsunade stood up as she went to collect her winnings from the bet that she had placed on Naruto. Naruto! Shouted Hinata as she ran over to Naruto as Jiraiya set the blonde on his feet. Naruto's legs were still weak, but he found that he was at least able to stand. Unfortunately, he didn't have enough strength to keep himself up when Hinata jumped him and the two of them fell to the ground with Hinata on top. Hey you two, here's not the place for that kind of stuff. I'm sorry, but you're going to have to wait until we get back to the hotel, said Jiraiya in a perverted tone as Naruto and Hinata invented a new shade of red. Just shut up you damn pervert, replied Naruto, only causing Jiraiya to laugh harder than he already was. That was amazing Naruto, said Sakura, coming over to congratulate the blonde. Very nicely done, Naruto. Your youthful flames are truly burning brighter than ever, exclaimed Lee. Yes, That was an impressive battle, commented Shino. You never cease to surprise me, Naruto, said Neji. The next one to do something was Sasuke, who just extended a hand to help Naruto up off the ground. Naruto took the hand and stood up so that he and Sasuke were staring directly into each other's eyes. Now I really want to fight you, Dobe, said Sasuke. Naruto instantly recognized this as a Sasuke comment. Hey, thanks everyone, and don't worry Sasuke, there's still one more round to go. We'll meet there, Tobio assured Naruto. You guys really are idiots if you think you will face each other in the next round. There are at least 17 compeers, which means the odds of you two actually meeting are pretty slim, responded Shinji with an annoyed tone. They will fight in the next round. It has been fated, said Neji, earning a glare from Shinji. You know, normally I'd smack you for that, but for once, I'm not arguing, replied Naruto. And thanks everyone. Now you guys go kick her in your matches and I'll see you afterwards. Where are you going, Naruto? Asked Hinata. Ero Sennin wants me to come up to the stands to sit down. I don't see why though, I can stand perfectly fine, said Naruto as he almost stumbled over. Just go sit. Don't worry Naruto, everything will be fine, said Sakura as Jiraiya helped Naruto up to the stands and Lee and Temari made their way to the arena for their match. As Naruto arrived at the Konoha section in the stands, he was greeted by a standing ovation from the 100 or so Konoha citizens who had managed to make their way to the exams. However, Iruka was the one to approach Naruto. I'm so proud of how far you've come, Naruto, said Iruka, smiling to his former student. Thanks Iruka-sensei, that means a lot, replied Naruto as a tear came to his eye and he found a seat in between Iruka and Kiba. That was amazing Naruto, exclaimed the members of the Konoha 12 who were already there. Yes, very impressive fight Naruto, and you probably saved us all from whatever that attack your opponent was charging up, said Hiashi as he and his younger daughter made their way towards where Naruto was now seated. Yay! Naruto Nissan won, cheered Hanabi. For Naruto, it certainly was nice to have the old, not manipulated Hanabi back. Before Hanabi exploded that one day, when Hinata and Hanabi were close with one another and since Hinata and Naruto had begun dating before then, Hanabi, for some reason, began calling him Nissan back then. Naruto wasn't arguing and it certainly was nice that Hinata and her sister were back to being close with one another. Okay, enough about me. Bushy Brow's fight is starting, said Naruto, diverting everyone's attention to the fight in the arena. Yosh! Go Lee! Let your flames of youth shine just like Naruto's, shouted Guy, deafening everyone within earshot of him. Yo! It's our green little fighter, keeps on truckin' so his flames gettin' brighter. And I'm a fan all the way, so don't get blown away, hey. Yeah. This is definitely the last time I let him proctor an exam, commented the rakage from the exam box. Sunad was trying to hold back her laughs. Excuse me, does that mean we can start? Asked Lee politely. You got it, man, replied B. Temari made the first move as she jumped backwards, away from Lee and opened her fan fully. She would have to end it now because she was a long-ranged fighter and the minute Lee got within close range of her, it was all over. Futon, great sickle weasel jutsu! Shouted Temari as she ended a massive gust of wind towards Lee. Lee was soon dancing around the wind blades created via Temari's technique as she launched off another attack towards him. Dang it, I can't get close to her if I have to keep dancing around like this, thought Lee. Lee, take them off. Guy's voice was heard throughout the stadium, except by those who he had already deafened. Lee backed away upon hearing this and Temari swore to herself. She had seen Lee fight when he takes his ankle weights off and there was no way she was going to let him do it now. Summoning, Kamatari, she shouted after smearing some bee on her fan and giving it a good swipe. A sickle weasel puffed onto the field and quickly made its way towards Lee. The weasel began swinging its sickle at Lee, hoping to stop Lee from gaining a moment to take his weights off. I need to take my weights off, but I can't seem to find the time. If I stop, then this weasel will wait. That's it, thought Lee. As he was dodging the weasel's attacks, Lee moved his legs in range of the sickle just enough that it would see through the fabric holding the weights on his legs. Lee's plan worked and the sickle weasel had see off his weights while not see off his legs. Now Lee was moving much faster than before and Temari was swearing. Not bad. Couldn't take his weights off, so he had the weasel do it for him, commented Kakashi. Lee took an extra step backwards to buy himself some room. Once his feet touched the ground, he was off and Temari lost track of him. Temari turned around just in time to move her fan to block one of Lee's oncoming kicks. Lee's kick met her fan and Temari found herself sliding backwards a bit. This was really bad for her now, as Lee was in melee range and most of her skills had gone down the drain. Lee's follow-up attack came swift with a sweeping kick that knocked Temari off her feet. For a brief moment, Temari's eyes closed when she hit the ground. When she opened them, Lee's fist was less than an inch from her nose. Apparently, Lee was either giving her a chance to surrender or he couldn't hit her for some reason. Still, she knew that had this been combat outside the arena, she would probably be S right now, as Lee could have been holding some sort of weapon or blade. Damn, and I was hoping to actually keep you away from me where I could win this. It's over, there's no way I'm winning now, said Temari, forfeiting the match. Yes, I won. Did you see that guy, sensei? Shouted Lee, looking up towards the balcony. Up in the stands, Guy was trying his best to keep his composure, even though tears were streaming down his face. Everyone thought he was going to manage, until Guy bolted over the railing of the stands and landed on the arena floor. Lee, I'm so proud of you. Guy sensei. Lee. Guy sensei. The two embraced in a hug with the ocean sunset as the backdrop. Everyone watching this horrific event was either trying to dispel the genjutsu or wishing that they were facing the Rokubi right about now. As Lee and Guy were heading back into the stadium, Sakura and Hikari were on their way out to the arena for their match. Sakura, I wish you luck, and may your own flames burn as brightly as mine did. Exclaimed Lee, giving Sakura the nice guy pose. Thanks Lee, replied Sakura. Sakura and her opponent faced each other. Hikari was probably about 2 to 3 years older than Sakura and had her brown hair in a bun with a few large needles holding it together. Because of her age, she was at least a good 6 inches taller than Sakura, giving her the size advantage if they came into close combat. However, the question was she as strong as Sakura? Hey Kurenai-sensei, you worked with Sakura these past few weeks, right? Asked Naruto. How much did she improve? Well, I've been focusing mainly on her genjutsu, and I will admit she has some amazing potential in that area. Her genjutsu's improved tremendously and now I'm almost wishing I had her on my team. If I had a year to work on her, who knows where she'd be right now. And thanks to Anko, her agility, stamina, and taijutsu have shown a good deal of improvement, said Kurenai. Wow, Sakura's going to kick her then. Replied Naruto. Though I still feel sorry she had to spend a month with the crazy snake lady. As B declared the match to start, Sakura made the first move, starting off with a few senbon aimed at her opponent. Hikari easily dodged them and darted towards Sakura. Sakura slid into a defensive stance and pulled a kunai, not really sure what to expect from her opponent. Hikari threw a straight punch towards Sakura, who blocked it with ease. However, as Hikari's fist connected with Sakura's arms, the pinkett felt a shock in her right arm, followed by a numbness in said arm. Out of surprise, Sakura retreated back a little to check what exactly happened to her arm. Kakashi-sensei, what's up with Sakura? Asked Naruto. I don't really know. A punch like that shouldn't have had much effect on Sakura, but it did, replied Kakashi. I think I know, replied Guy, who had just arrived back at the stands with a victorious Lee. Hyuga-sama, if I may borrow your eyes. Hiashi nodded at Guy's request and activated his Byakugan and focused in on Sakura's arm as told, followed by Hikari's arm. Sakura's chakra is fine, it's her nerves that are shaken up, but they are starting to recover. As for her opponent, there is a thin shroud of lightning chakra surrounding her hand. Replied Guy. Guy-sensei, what is it? Asked Lee. Then my assumption about her from the prelims was correct. She is a user of the Raken, Lightning Fist, responded Guy. Lightning Fist. What's that, bushy brows sensei? Asked Naruto. The Raken is probably the most formidable taijutsu style that Kumogakure has access to. The user surrounds their hand with a thin layer of static electricity that numbs and stuns the opponent upon contact. So when Sakura blocked right there, the electricity surrounding Hikari's fist numbed her arm, explained the taijutsu expert. The electricity messes with the nerves in the area it hit and temporarily messes them up. However, Because the amount of electricity surrounding her hands is minimal, the numbing sensation only lasts 30 seconds at most. So Sakura should be regaining control of her arm right about now. Guy was correct in that Sakura could feel the feeling come back to her arm. I think I see. It's just like Tsunade Shosho's Ranshinso, nerve pathway rupture, only not as strong. I should probably stay away from her hands then. I need to immobilize her somehow so I can attack without worrying about those hands, thought Sakura. Hey, think that little spark you call an attack is going to affect me. Sakura began taunting as she came up with a plan. You couldn't even light up a light bulb with the measly electricity you've got. As Sakura proceeded to dodge a few punches from an enraged Hikari who was taking the taunts, Guy continued on with his explanation. Unlike the Yuken, the Raken doesn't damage any internal organs or tissue, just scrambles the nerve impulses for a few seconds. However, that doesn't mean that a user of the Raken can't score a fatal blow with it. If they manage to land a hit to the head, scrambling the nerve signals in the brain could actually prove fatal. Wow, you actually know a lot about this stuff, bushy brows sensei. Replied Naruto. Guy flashed his smile towards Naruto. Taijutsu is the form of combat that utilizes the strength of the body itself. As a master of Taijutsu, I am also a master of the body. Too bad you're not a master of the mind as well, thought Tenten. Sakura was backpedaling away from Hikari, dodging punch after punch as she made her way towards a few trees that were placed around the outside of the arena. However, as she was backing up, Sakura momentarily forgot where she was going and she backed up into a tree and Hikari saw this by SA charged fist into Sakura's C. Hikari then took her other hand and grabbed the top of Sakura's head as electricity raced through her. Sakura! Shouted both Lee and Naruto. As Lee and Naruto said that, Sakura began to be absorbed by the tree and Hikari was surprised as the tree started to bind her as well. Before she could escape, the tree wrapped itself around Hikari, immobilizing her. Hey, gotcha, said Sakura, appearing on the branch of said tree, completely unharmed. What? How? Responded Hikari. Genjutsu, answered Sakura, throwing a few senbon needles into Hikari's exposed shoulder. A few seconds later, and Hikari was out like a log. She won't be waking up for an hour or so, Sakura called out to B. Bean nodded. The match is over as Hikari is a dozer, said B. Yeah. Way to go Sakura, shouted Naruto and Lee. Other cheers and applause were heard from the stands. It's a shame that we didn't get to see more of the Raken, but Hikari was so content on just getting a hand on Sakura that she didn't realize she was walking into a trap, replied Guy. What technique was that Sakura used? Asked Naruto. Tree binding technique, replied Kurenai. It's a higher level genjutsu that I taught her. In the arena, Sakura heard the applause and turned towards the stands. This wasn't something that she got to experience from the first exams, thanks to Ino, but it came as a pleasant surprise to her as she couldn't help but smiling. Hey, attacks that screw with the nerves aren't going to work that well on Sakura, thought Tsunade. Once she figured out what was going on, all she had to do was stay away from Hikari until the proper time came to strike. And being a med nin, dodging those attacks were easy for her. Similar thoughts were going through the crowd as Sakura proceeded back into the stadium and a few minutes intermission was given to the stadium before continuing on with the match, giving B the perfect opportunity to entertain the crowds with his enka rapping skills. Not bad down there, complimented Sasuke as Sakura returned to the compeer's box. I had her from the moment I realized what she could do, which wasn't that hard given that I am a mednin after all, bragged Sakura. Besides, after a month with Anko, you either learn to not let anything hit you or you learn what pain truly is. Sakura turned back towards the door to go join Naruto and Lee back in the stands. So you're just going to leave me here alone? Asked Sasuke, mixing in hints of joking and pleading in his voice. You're not alone, you've got 3 Hyugas, Gaara, and a few Kumo ninja to keep you company, responded Sakura, returning the joke. It seems I have been forgotten again, thought Shino. It was bad enough that the author forgot about me during the training montage, but now my own friends. Shino disappeared to the corner to sulk. It's okay Shino. I didn't forget about you, said Hinata, trying to cheer her teammate up. Thank you, Hinata. But you should be going, your match is about to start, responded Shino. Hinata, good luck out there, said Sakura before she continued up to the stands. The crowds began to cheer as the next two compeers took the field. The next match was against what Kumo considered their taijutsu prodigy and Hyuga, a clan that was known for the unique taijutsu style. This was another of the highly anticipated matches in these Chunin exams as Kumo looked to prove that they were superior in taijutsu to the Hyugas, especially after the whole incident, almost 10 years ago. Finally, shouted Naruto as he noticed Hinata take the field with her opponent, Yumo. Kick some A, Hinata. Let's go Nissan. You can beat him, shouted Hanabi, in an un-Hyuga-like fashion that earned her a glare from Hyuga Kenjo and Hyuga Uro, Shinji's father and grandfather from the main branch, and the same people who had tried to brainwash Hanabi. Naruto, Hanabi-chan, everyone, I won't let you down. I promise that on my Nindo, thought Hinata as she activated her bloodline and slipped into the Yukin stance. Hey, a Hyuga and a main branch won too. This ought to be fun, but the Hyuga won't stand a chance. I've trained myself to be able to fight the Yukin. Perhaps if I can manage to K her and take those eyes of hers before this match is over, Reikage-sama will give me more than just a promotion, thought Yumo as he entered his taijutsu stance. Jutsu. Kaiten, Hellcat's Fury, Yugito breathes a large ball of fire that quickly forms into multiple flaming tiger-like forms. These tigers then attack the target with bites, ECT with the power of fire to enhance the damage done. Rank B. Uses Uig Toni. Futon, air bullets. Naruto compresses the air for this attack in his lungs, similar to the futon, great breakthrough, but keeps the size of the spheres compressed to about that of a baseball out off softball instead of unleashing the blast as one big gust. This also allows the user to expel more than one of these bullets per breath. Rank C+. Uses Uzumaki Naruto, Sarutobi Asuma. Acidic wave. With AS motion of his hand, Goyaku unleashes a wave of acid droplets that burns out melts anything in their path. Rank B. Users Goyaku. Futon, pressure palm. The user gathers and compresses air between their palms, similar to futon, gale palm. The user then both open palms into their target and the pressure explodes. This blast has enough power to create a good-sized crater in the side of a rock or send an opponent flying back a good 100 feet. Rank C+. Uses Uzumaki Naruto, Sarutobi Asuma. Exploding clone jutsu. Physical clones that are overloaded with chakra are created, and with a half tiger seal, they will detonate, creating a massive chakra explosion. This is considered a kinjutsu as each clone requires about 10x as much chakra to make as a shadow clone. Also, the clones do not send the knowledge they have gained back to the original, thankfully, after all, who wants to remember the sensation of being blown up? Except maybe Deodara. Rank A. Uses Uzumaki Naruto. Futon, Heaven's Hammer. A powerful column of compressed air descends upon the target from the upper atmosphere. This column of air has enough power to completely crush most targets and even pin 5-tail-cloaked Jinchuriki to the ground. Rank A+. Uses Uzumaki Naruto. Fuinjutsu. Uzumaki style, suppression seal. An Uzumaki style seal that is used to suppress an opponent's chakra so that they cannot access it. The more elements to the seal, the stronger the seal will be. It should be noted that at least 4 elements are required to even be able to restrict the flow of demonic chakra. Rank A. 8-point seal. Uses Uzumaki Naruto. Futon, Great Sickle Weasel Jutsu. With a swipe of her fan, Temari unleashes multiple air currents that collide to create vacuum pockets that will the opponent, with enough power to down many trees in a forest. Rank B. Uses Temari. Reiken, a form of taijutsu, otherwise known as the lightning fist, where the user covers their hands in a thin shroud of static electricity. Upon touching an opponent with their charged hands, that part of the body temporarily numbs, for about 10 to 30 seconds, depending on the opponent. While most hits are non-life-threatening, a shot to the head or spinal column could potentially be devastating. Also, a mednin who is familiar with how the nerves work can significantly reduce the time of the temporary stun. Uses Hikari. Tree binding technique. A common, yet powerful genjutsu common to genjutsu uses in Konoha that gives the target the sensation of being ensnared by a tree and restrained, giving the user the opportunity to strike without the opponent being able to counterattack. Rank B. Uses Yuhi Kurenai, Haruno Sakura. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.